Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sports Outlet Show. Oh boy, do we have a treat here for you today. As you can see, I'm wearing my Florida Gators polo here. I've been invested in polos in my time over the summer with the CLC in Learfield, so I got a lot of college polos for some teams I like, but we're talking SEC today, guys. Super excited. As always, I have my two beautiful men with the B names, Braden and Brent, here on the show today. What's up, boys?
Let's go, gentlemen. I'm ready to talk some SEC football. Let's get into it, baby.
Let's do it. Let's get started right away.
Wow, you in a rush?
Yeah, I'm on a time crunch here. Come on.
Okay, so apparently we're on a time crunch here.
I'm kidding.
So conference number 11, the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, if you want to be super specific. Now, this conference is okay when we're talking about NCAA football. There are a few teams that are pretty out of the ordinary, I would say, Bram. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. There's a few on here. Some that really suck.
By some, you mean one, right?
There's
team.
There's one team that's
There's
just
one team. Shout out to my man in Atlanta who knows exactly who that team is because we mess about them all the time. But speaking of teams that don't suck, and let's be honest, the SEC is the best of the best. It's the blue bloods of college football. It's the best teams in the business. It's if you're in this division, it doesn't matter if you're the number 20 seed, you can go 6-6. There are a few examples of those, but let's talk about a team that did not go 6-6 and has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Brent, take us away.
Yeah, here's that team we were mentioning earlier, the team that sucks, that's god awful. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide. They suck. All right, here's where we're at with Alabama. They had a piss poor season last year. And I can say that because they didn't win the national championship. Because that's where we're at now with Alabama. They need to win the national championship to consider it a good season. With the amount of success they've had over the recent years, that's what you call a successful season for Alabama. Obviously, we all know they lost 33-18 against that dominant Georgia defense last year, but you can't be falling off too much when you have the Heisman winner and the greatest college coach of all time on your team. Literally, the only time in the last 10 years they haven't won the SEC West was in 2019. That was Joe Burr. It has to be boring at this point to be an Alabama fan with all that winning. That's my opinion. I'm a Giants fan. I like a little spice in my life. I like a little losing. It draws me in. It gives me hope for the next season to think that we'll actually have a good year, but it never ends up happening. It builds character. To root for a losing team. But anyway, Nick Saban, y'all know the story at this point. He has a career record at Alabama of 178-25, and he is entering his 16th consecutive season with the team. The only time during that span that he did not have over 10 wins was 2007, his first season. Something that surprised me when I was digging up stats I didn't already know was his coaching tree. He has produced 38 head coaches for both the college and NFL level. Talk about a good career coach. This guy is straight up giving jobs to people. Some of these coaches include Josh McDaniels, Jimbo Fisher, Jason Garrett, Pat Shurmur, Dan Quinn, Adam Gase, Kirby Smart, Freddie Kitchens, Joe Judge, and Brian Dable. These are just a few. There's a lot more. Like I said, 38 in his coaching tree. It's crazy. But now, on to the Heisman winner, Bryce Young. Mr. Young is only the number one overall NFL prospect in the nation and the Heisman winner in his first year as a starter. He went for 4,872 yards, 47 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He can make every type of throw. He is extremely accurate and is very mobile in the pocket. all things you are looking for at the next level. Perhaps his biggest weakness is that he's an Alabama quarterback. Guys that have not had a whole lot of success at the next level based on the talent around them in college. We see it with Tua, A.J. McCarron, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts. They're not world beaters. They're not going to straight up carry you to that Super Bowl. Was there a better guy than Bryce Young at the college level last year? The knee-jerk response is no, but here's where you might be wrong. Will Anderson, the junior linebacker last year, had 102 tackles, 17 and a half sacks, and 34 and a half tackles for loss last year. This kid is the top defensive player in the nation and by far the best pass rusher in college football. He is fast as all get out and gives quarterbacks headaches. If he adds just a little bit of weight, like just a tiny bit, we could be talking about him in the same breath as Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud in next year's NFL draft. The other guy I wanted to highlight is Jordan Battle. He's a senior strong safety. He has had 182 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 5 interceptions in 3 seasons. He is the number 8 ranked defensive back in the nation and is expected to go in the late first or early second of next year's draft. I went ahead and did the due diligence of putting Alabama's most important game as the national championship because they are going to make it once again. They always do. This one, however, I think will be a rematch of the 2021 national championship against the Buckeyes. And I have C.J. Stroud getting the better of Bryce Young to close out the season. Final record prediction for Alabama, 14-1. So undefeated up until the national championship and then lose to Ohio State.
So a New England Tom Brady situation going on there.
Yep.
Eli Manning is now C.J. Stroud.
I
do. Go ahead.
I personally like C.J. Stroud just a tad more than Bryce Young, but it's close. I will say it's very close.
Would you boys say that the NFL is scripted? I'm going somewhere with this. At least a little bit.
In some aspects, yes. Like the Deshaun Watson suspension, that was scripted because his first game is against the Texans.
Okay. Braden knows where I'm going with this. So today, Braden and I were watching a little college football, getting ready for the backyard brawl, West Virginia versus Pitt, right? That game's going on right now. We'll have live updates for you and talk about the game after it concludes, as it should conclude before the end of this podcast. So we're watching the Heisman House commercial. It's the Nissan Heisman House commercial. And the Heisman House, this is the first year because of NIL and all that stuff. Players are allowed to wear their numbers, their logos, their jersey, their name on the back. It's not just light colors. So the Tebow jersey was in there. Baker Mayfield was in there. Kyler was in there. It was really, really cool. So the whole thing happened, and Bryce Young picks up the phone and does the thing because he's being entered into the Heisman House. Braden, what happened immediately after that?
Yeah. The commercial played back to back.
The commercial played back to back. Nissan had back-to-back slots for the college football Heisman House. No one has ever won the Heisman back-to-back, and no school has had it back-to-back besides Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. So is Nissan onto something here, or are we just going too deep?
I don't know. He very well could win it again. It's very in the realm of possibilities.
It's hard enough to do it once. It might be impossible to do it twice, but we'll see.
I do have one thing to say about C.J. Stroud because I do want both of your Heisman votes for him because I believe that's the 1 and 2. They're the Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler of this start of the year. Yeah, so obviously a lot can change. C.J. Stroud today, so you know how they're going to play the Buckeyes on Saturday in Notre Dame. I made Braden aware of this. Brent, you might already know. C.J. Stroud has made so much money off of NIL deals that he gave every single one of his teammates $500 to go buy a suit so they could show up looking fly.
That's awesome.
Every
I love that.
single one of his teammates.
I love that. That's terrific. And obviously, you're gonna need a suit somewhere down the line, in whatever you do in a career. If you're showing up for a football game, you're gonna need one. So that's awesome. I love that.
Crazy. Just speaks absolute volumes. This kid's amazing. Braden, who's your Heisman?
Yeah, we've talked about him. It's CJ Stroud.
Between him and Bryce Young, I just can't. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But like I said, I like CJ Stroud just like the tiniest bit better. And I'm a Giants fan. I think the Giants are gonna be piss poor this upcoming season. I honestly think they could very easily have one of those top 2 spots. And if they do, I'm gonna be thrilled because either one of them, I'm just gonna be psyched if the Giants land one of those 2 guys.
I'd agree. Then I'm not even a Giants fan. But with that being said, Alabama versus Ohio State would be crazy. So I hope you're right. But we do have to continue pushing on. Enough about the worst team in the SEC. Let's talk some Razorbacks.
All right. So the Arkansas Razorbacks, they had a great year last season. They made it to their first bowl game since 2016, and they went for a record of 9-4, but all of those losses came in a tough SEC division. The last time they made it to the SEC championship was 2006, but that's what you expect when you're on the same side of the coin as Bama. It's hard to make it there. Their head coach is Sam Pittman, a guy the team has a lot of trust in after taking the Razorbacks to their first winning season in a while. He has gone 12-11 in 2 seasons. Their quarterback is returning redshirt junior KJ Jefferson, again, a guy who seemed to have a lot of success last year. The dual threat option went for 2,676 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions while adding 664 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns with his legs. 2 guys I wanted to highlight are both NFL prospects. The first is a great name and a great name for a linebacker at that. It's senior linebacker Bumper Pool. That's his name, Bumper Pool.
Nice.
Bumper Pool had 125 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 2 broken up passes last season. Bumper Pool is stingy between the tackles and projects as a 6th-round pick in next year's draft. The next guy is Jalen Catalon, a junior safety. Catalon went for 45 tackles and 2 picks in 6 games last season before sustaining a season-ending injury. As a true freshman, though, Catalon went for 99 tackles and 3 picks, a tough thing to do as a safety in the SEC. He projects as the 9th best defensive back and should be an early 2nd rounder in next year's draft. All in all, this Arkansas team is damn good. It's just a shame that they get largely overshadowed by the team I talked about before them. Despite all this, I have them taking a step up to 10-2 next season, with their only losses coming from Bama and A&M.
Care to comment on that comment?
This is an interesting team to watch. Last year, they started putting up a great record. I imagine with the instability of college football, we could see a better record this year. Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, 10-2. That's my prediction. Their schedule, it's not all that bad, despite being in the SEC. Like I said, they do have to face Bama and A&M, so I expect losses there. But other than that, Arkansas is going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. I think they're going to be very good.
Yeah, A&M and Alabama are two of your only 2 losses. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be at the level to make it to the playoffs, but if they finish in the top 10, this year, I would not be surprised. Not at all.
Okay. As you can see, they're number 19, and they have a huge game week 1 that we'll be talking about in just a bit. Thanks, Brent. Let's transition to one of many Tigers.
Yeah. The first alphabetically Tigers of the SEC are the Auburn Tigers, War Eagle. They went 6-7 last season, 3-5 in the conference. They lost their bowl game. It was the Birmingham Bowl against Houston. They lost that game 13-17. The last time they won the SEC West was back in 2017, where they lost the conference championship game to Georgia 7-28. They're led by head coach Brian Harsin. It's his second year at Auburn, so that 6-7 is all he has at Auburn. At quarterback, Bo Nix is gone. They are led by quarterback TJ Finley. He's a junior, and he was named the starter just recently on Sunday. He won the job over A&M transfer Zach Calzada. Last season, Finley threw for 827 yards and a pick in 9 games. At LSU in 2020, he had an additional 941 yards and 5 TDs and 5 picks in 5 games as a true freshman. I got 2 players to watch. We got running back Tank Bigsby. I absolutely love that name. He's a junior.
That's awesome.
He's out for vengeance, as I'm sure many of you remember during that Alabama game that was so fun to watch. He stepped out of bounds, and the game ended up going to overtime. Last season, he ran for just under 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And then my next player to watch is senior center Nick Brahms. He's going into his 5th year starting center. So he's a complete tank. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He knows how to play center. My most important game for this Auburn team is Week 13 at Alabama. After the thrilling quadruple overtime showdown last season in which Auburn lost 24-22, Auburn would love to bring the magic back for an in-state rivalry and finish the job this time. I don't think they will. I think they're going to take a bit of a step down the season and go 5-7.
Ouch.
Don't mess with a running back named Tank.
Yeah.
That's an awesome name for a running back.
That guy was born to run. He was born to run.
He was.
That's awesome. 5-7 so they need Cam Newton back is what I'm hearing. I hear he's available.
They do.
Yeah, I don't think he's on a team. I don't think he's on a team right now.
I don't think he is either. Well, I guess we can go to one of the most inspirational, interesting teams that I'm trying to get it in the frame there. That's a Gator chomp if you didn't understand. Florida Gators last season, very, very underwhelming for Gainesville. Not what you want to see as a Florida Gator fan. It's been mediocrity for the past few seasons, and it needs to start changing. Florida Gators went 6-7, 2-6 last season. The Gators lost 17-29 against UCF in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. So that one's a mouthful. Last time they did end up winning the conference was in 2008. Can you guys tell me who was playing quarterback in 2008 for the Florida Gators?
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. You're right. So haven't won it since Tim Tebow. Obviously, Dan Mullen, get your arse kicked out the door. It's Billy Napier's season, first season coming in. This is a head coach to watch. This is somebody you definitely want in your corner. He's definitely one of the better coaches starting out in his first season in the NCAA. I do have some players to watch, but first, Florida got a 5-star commit this season. Kamari Wilson, he was the number 1 safety across the draft class from Bradenton, Florida. I thought, that was pretty needed to be announced considering you get a 5-star. Brent, you didn't talk about any of the 5 stars for Bama. I assume they didn't have any?
Yeah, they don't have any 5-star recruits.
Okay.
Only 2 stars.
Let's dive into depth of the Florida head coach. So Napier went 40-12 with 2 Sun Belt championships, 2 top 16 finishes, 3 double-digit win seasons, and 4 division titles with the Ragin' Cajuns. He had a phenomenal, outstanding performance with them. Now he's transitioned his talents to the SEC. The Florida Gators were 15th in the nation in total offensive yards, yet they put up only 6 wins. The defense was a very, very big problem. They gave up more than 4.5 yards per carry on the run last season. They were horrible. So they were basically moving the markers every 2 carries. Not good. This is really, really, really going to help when Billy Napier steps in. Over his 14 games with the Raging Cajuns, they only threw 4 interceptions. Florida gave up 4 interceptions against LSU. They lost that game 49-42 against LSU, and Florida turned the ball over 18 times through the air. They only won 1 game with turnover margin. They won 1 turnover margin game against Samford. Pretty good team. Great team, I would say, actually. My 2 players to watch, sophomore quarterback Anthony Richardson. He's going to be stepping in for the first time now that Emory Jones has transferred. He's the sophomore. Last season, he only threw for 529 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 picks. Nothing to write home about, but this guy's got talent. He's got speed. Look out for him. Speaking of speed, Billy Napier brought over with him Louisiana transfer running back Matrell Johnson. He's also a sophomore. Last season, he had 162 carries, 838 yards, and 12 punch-ins. And one of those was a 99-yard TD. So if you have time, look up Montrell Johnson 99-yard TD. It's pretty sick. It's better than Derrick Henry's. I'm kidding. Nothing's better than that. Finally, safety Trey Dean. He's the leading returning tackler for the Gators. He had 88 tackles. 40 of them were solos and 8 pass deflections, which is really, really good and high for a college football player. My games, yes, plural, games to watch is week 1 and week 2. Week 1, they are at home against Utah. Week 2, they're at home against Kentucky. That's the 7 seed and the 20 seed in the SEC. 20 seed in the SEC, and then Utah being the 7 seed. 2 AP top 25 opponents. If Florida can start 2-0 here, it could be crazy. They won't. My record prediction for them is 9-4, on the up and up a little bit. They have a great team, great raw talent. The O-line's getting themselves fixed, and these boys can get in the backfield, considering they outsacked opponents 37-14 last year. I'm excited for the Florida Gators because if Virginia Tech doesn't qualify, I have another team. So it should be time, usually, to talk about the next team. But with the spirit of, college football, Braden, when does college football start for us?
Tomorrow.
What are we doing at 6 o'clock tomorrow?
We're having a little tailgate barbecue. Ooh, okay.
Joe's Top 10 has made its second return real quick. And I would love for you all to jump in and tell me I'm incorrect, especially when I miss something or if I put something way too low. I want you all to yell at me. Number 10, Doritos of any kind, but I prefer Cool Ranch. I do. That need to be higher?
No, that's fine. I just like the way we're starting off.
Okay, Brent.
Some sort of chip. I like the spicy sweet chili Doritos.
Those are my favorite too. I agree. But for me, it's got to be Cool Ranch. At tailgates. Number 9, you all know what I'm talking about. Those Boss sugar cookies, the ones that have like the pink or blue frosting on top. You just eat 2 of them and you feel super sick to your stomach.
Yeah.
But you get them at like Martin's, Walmart, whatever. Everybody's picturing it and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll eat those and it tastes like plastic. And other times I'll eat it and I'll be like, damn, this is the best thing ever. I just I can't make my mind up. I can't make my mind up with those.
You got to pace yourself with them. Like Joe said, if you eat 2, you're going to be sick to your stomach. You can't fly too close to the sun. You need 1 and then you stop.
Number 8 is a bit of an underdog. Pigs in a Blanket.
Oh, yes. Yes. It should be higher.
Pigs in a Blanket are not usually associated with tailgating anymore. I feel like we've lost that. I feel like we've lost pigs in a blanket. Like, I know my parents used to make them a lot. Like, it's something you pop in the oven. Like, that's not tailgating. They have to be pre-made, pre-prepped, preheated. Like, it just hits different when they come out. They're warm and you just eat them. They're amazing. They're amazing.
It's so good, dude. Now I want it. Now I want it right now.
Joe. I told you 30 seconds before we started that I was hungry. Why are you doing this to me?
All right, so you've had your Doritos, you've had your box sugar cookies, you've had your pigs in a blanket. You're feeling kind of chubby, right? You need something to like something sweet, something to help get it all out. It's watermelon. Watermelon is a perfect 7 spot here. Watermelon's juicy. It'll get you messy, dripping down your face a little bit. Nice, refreshing, like a sorbet after dinner. Watermelon is key to stopping that belly from all that beer and meat.
I'm not the biggest watermelon guy. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the biggest watermelon guy.
I like a good juicy watermelon. It's good. It is.
I do.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's not my preferred fruit choice.
Okay.
Number 6, I'm sure this is going to be talked about later, especially if she is on here. It's mac and cheese.
Oh,
Mac and cheese is a staple to tailgating. It's one of the best side dishes out there. It's phenomenal. You can do it so many different ways. It's just great.
I'm surprised that's not in the top 5. Whew.
Let's see it. Let's see the top 5.
Damn, you're getting me hungry, man.
Let's enter the top 5. And Braden's going to lose it. At number 5, I have hot dogs. Specifically with ketchup and mustard. That is my personal preference. But
Okay.
I feel hot dogs, like, they play hand in hand. We got Italian sausages now. Like, people are forgetting the hot dog at some of their tailgates. Like, they're underpassed. They're like easy to cook. Like, you could pop it in a microwave, basically. Does that really talk grilling? I personally love hot dogs. They're top 5 for me easily.
Sure. Okay. A microwaved hot dog. Sure. Not the greatest,
Trash.
but a grilled hot dog. That's where it's at.
If it's between a hot dog, an Italian sausage, and a burger, I'm not picking hot dog. Hot dogs last on that list.
I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest. It's still a good choice for a little barbecue, a little grill action, but it's not my go-to. It's not my go-to.
Everybody knows. For me, you go 1 hot dog, 1 burger, and then you're good to go.
You got to get both. You got to dabble in both.
Exactly.
Number 4, here's where controversy starts. I personally believe, you guys might disagree, but it's the second word of this that is going to be dramatic. Chips and queso. Number 4 for me at a tailgate. Again, plays in with the mac and cheese. You could have salsa, but this isn't taco night. This is what we're outdoors. We're not sitting in a restaurant. I want bubbling queso in that nice crock pot, and I just want to put a nice seasoned chip in it, yap it in my mouth, and then move on with my day. I don't need salsa. I don't need tomatoes in my system. Chips.
I'm a little confused here, and you might have it here on the rest of this list, but buffalo chicken dip. That's way better than chips and queso. Chips and queso, I'm not bringing it. Not bringing it to the tailgate.
All right.
It's not on the list.
I'm always bringing chips and queso. I love chips and queso.
Like Brent said earlier, we're doing the comparison game here. Chips and queso are there, and chips and buffalo chicken dip are there. You're taking the buffalo chicken dip every time.
All day.
But if it's just queso, that's fine. That's okay.
All right. At number 3, I feel number 3 has been neglected. I feel number 3 isn't at tailgates anymore. I feel like it's just used as an appetizer at like a pizza pub. Guys, what happened to pretzel bites at tailgates? Pretzel bites are a staple. Pretzel bites can be used for so many different things. If I want to slap butter on it, I want to dribble some salt on it. Again, back to the chips and queso. You got queso already to dip it in. Pretzel bites is like what I'm trying to give a comparison. It's the thing that's left on your bench. Like, it's the thing people are like, yeah, we could do that, but they don't bring it. What's going on?
Again, not on my list.
I like that they're on the list, but number 3,
it's way too high.
Yeah.
Number 2, it's a staple. It's a staple of a tailgate. It's a must-have. You got to have it. It's burgers.
Oh, hell
Number 2, hamburger, cheeseburger. I don't care however you like. I prefer cheeseburger. I love the difference between the cheeses. You got the nice layout of all the condiments, the pickles, the onion, the lettuce, da 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 da.
You gotta have all the toppings.
It's a dynamic player. Like it's Cooper Cup of fantasy football. It can go each and every way. Like how you prefer it. You can't go wrong with a burger at a tailgate.
Maybe get a little bacon on the side there if you want to add that on. Oh,
don't do this to me. Don't do it to me.
Choo.
So that takes us to number one. Number one is by far my favorite food at a tailgate. And I know what you're saying. How is burgers not number one? I see Jack saying that in the comments. I'm sure you guys are thinking it. I grew up with this. It's an NFL Sunday tradition. It's something that Chris comes to my house and wants every single time. It's my mom's staple. Give me buffalo chicken dip, baby, at number one.
I love it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. It had to be on the list. I would have just subbed it completely out with chips and queso, though.
I disagree.
See, maybe you sub it out with the Doritos, and then maybe Jack said wings earlier. Throw some wings in there, but they're hard to do.
That's what I was gonna say. Jack said it in the comments. You have to have wings on that list. I don't know if you forgot about it or what, but
no, I didn't forget about it.
Wings, come on, man. They got to be on the list. They're top 3.
Okay, I would agree with you. Wings are great. Okay. Wings are great, but do you know how difficult it is to get wings to a tailgate and then try and keep them warm, try and like not burn yourself with bones? And it's so messy before you go into the game. Like,
who cares?
I'm just saying.
You're drunk. You don't care. You get that wing sauce all over you.
Us that are under 21 are not, so we will reject that statement. But buffalo chicken dip's number one. I would consider wings an honorable mention. If they're there, I'm definitely eating them, but I'm not going out of my way to go make them because I'm grilling stuff at a tailgate. Grilling.
All right.
I like it. It was a decent list. Chips and queso, pretzel bites, not on the list for me, but it was a decent list.
Now I know you noticed that there were no drinks on there.
Beer. That's all you need.
There were no drinks on there. There were no drinks. That'll be next time because we're hopping right back into college football. And speaking of number one buffalo chicken dip, let's talk about the number one of last year, the Georgia Bulldogs. Brent, first of all, I don't want to ever hear I didn't give you a good team ever again. You got Bama and Georgia.
I know you made up for it this time. My other divisions, they were a little rough, but we got some good teams here. Got some good teams.
By the way, there's an absolute fight going on in the chat.
I know. I didn't even know Maddie was here.
It's all right.
Water's pretty good. Come on.
See,
water?
I mean, it's important to stay hydrated. I say maybe before the tailgate, you load up on some water, get that hydration going just so you don't pass out. But yeah, it's not a staple. Anyways, back to Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs, obviously, they won the national championship last year. We already mentioned it with Bama. We don't need to go over it again. But listen, this team is lucky that they are in the SEC East and not the SEC West because they basically have a free ticket to the SEC championship once again, unless Kentucky is somehow able to play upset, which I don't personally see happening. This historic Georgia team from last year is hurting after losing 15 players to the NFL. I mean, they lost 5 players from their defense alone in the first round. 5 defensive players in the first round. Those players being Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, and Lewis Seen. Not to mention, Nakobe Dean should have easily gone in the first round if teams weren't so scared about his pec injury, which is turning out to be they shouldn't have been scared. because he's going to be a dog for the Eagles. You got a total steal, Braden.
I'm excited.
But it's not just the defense. They're losing their 2 starting running backs, James Cook and Zamir White, and their number 1 wide receiver in George Pickens. I don't know how anyone can realistically expect a repeat here. But despite all of that, they're still ranked 3rd in the nation. So let's get into it here. Their head coach is the one and only Kirby Smart, who has gone 66-15 in 6 seasons with the Bulldogs. At quarterback, they're returning probably the most average guy you'll ever see, just some bum on the street, Stetson Bennett. He went for 2,862 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 picks last year, and is losing a lot of pieces, as I previously mentioned. What scares me the most about Stetson is his arm strength. He has to wind up if he wants to throw the ball more than 15 yards down the field. And his throws are not very fluid because of that. It's going to be an interesting year for Stetson, in my opinion. I don't think a lot of people are thinking this, but I don't see a future for him outside of college. This is his super senior season. He hasn't proved anything yet. He's not going to be in the next level. 2 other guys to watch are Jalen Carter, a junior defensive tackle. He's had 51 tackles, 3 sacks, and 11.5 tackles for loss in 2 seasons. He's never going to be the level of prospect that a Trayvon Walker was, but he could be an NFL guy one day. The other is the true freshman All-American tight end from last season, Brock Bowers. This guy was killer last year. 56 catches, 882 yards, and 14 touchdowns in his freshman year as a tight end. That is crazy, especially in the SEC. This guy's going to be a dog at the next level. Like I said, this Georgia team has a cakewalk of a schedule this year, facing only 2 ranked teams in Oregon and Kentucky. I would not be shocked at all if Georgia beats these 2 teams and makes it to the college football playoffs once again. But if they do, they will lose in the semi-championship game. Guaranteed. I'm stamping it. If they make it, they're losing first round. I have them going 11-1 in the regular season. I think they will lose that first game to Oregon.
Hot take.
Oh, snap. Okay.
But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that more later.
What do you think about the fact they let JT Daniels walk? Speaking that he's playing right now.
I don't know. I mean, again, I said Stetson. I think he's just an average guy, but he did win the national championship for them. So obviously he has that going for him. I don't know how you can turn away from him after that.
I would agree with that. But yeah, JT Daniels is what do you think JT Daniels' favorite color is?
I'd say brown. He just looks like a brown guy.
You know what? He does.
He looks like a guy that would like brown.
Maybe like it's definitely a neutral color. Like I don't know. I think of like gray when I think of JT Daniels.
Stetson Bennett is definitely the guy that likes beige or something. Just a weird color.
I'm gonna go with JT Daniels' favorite color is green because he's gonna get a big old money bag after this season. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Nice.
Brown is my favorite too. Grace M.
Nice.
Grace, welcome to the podcast. Hello.
This is the only way that I can properly transition into the Kentucky Wildcats segment. So right on cue. The Kentucky Wildcats last season, they're number 20 this season, went 10-3, 5-3 in conference play. The Kentucky Wildcats. Last season, they won their bowl game 20-17 against Iowa in the Verbo Citrus Bowl. So good for them. Last time they won the conference was 1976, where they co-shared it with the Georgia Bulldogs themselves. Kentucky's still looking for their first non-shared conference title in a long long time. But Brent said something interesting before this even started. Brent said something about Kentucky being a basketball school. The first sentence I wrote on this paper, and I will quote, is it time to give more respect to the Wildcats than just basketball?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that it came up and it's the first thing sitting on my screen. I thought I would definitely have to say that. They had 9 4-star recruits, unfortunately no 5-stars. They've had 2 straight 10-win seasons and 4 straight bowl wins in the last 4 years. So they've been playing great football. Their offense finished only number 8 in the SEC, and they averaged 32 points per game last season. Their O-line is in a lot of trouble, however, because they did lose Dare Rosenthal to the Falcons and Darian Kennard to the Kansas City Chiefs. They also lost a big wide receiver that was a huge part of their team. Brent, what's that guy's name?
Wandale Robinson, baby.
Wandale Robinson.
I love me some Wandale. Give it to me.
Me too.
Give me some Wandale. I want some of the action. They had 23 total turnovers last season, including 4 against New Mexico State and Mississippi State. Kentucky also fumbled 19 times. They recovered 9 of them. They lost 10 of them. That's still horrible. Absolutely horrible. The Kentucky Wildcats are returning Mark Stoops. He's in his 10th season. He's 59-53. Their player to watch is Penn State transfer graduate student Will Levis, who threw for 2,826 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 13 picks in Sean Clifford's absence last year. Another guy, and this is a guy's name I love, returning senior running back Kavosi Smoke. 81 carries, 416 yards, and 4 TDs. The last name Smoke just gone. Like he's going from the 40 to the 40 in like less than 10 seconds. Just like
he might be drug tested a little bit more than the average guy.
Oh,
with a name like that.
He's got a cool name. Braden, I have to say it. I'm sorry. One other player to watch is also a player on offense. He is also a transfer. He's a junior. From Virginia Tech, wide receiver Tavion Robinson is a player to watch for the Wildcats. 44 catches, 559 yards, and 5 touchdowns last season for the Hokies. Tavion Robinson left a ginormous hole for the Hokies wide receiving core. He's a one-of-a-kind talent. Didn't he score like a kick or a punt return last season too? He might have done it.
It was a punt return.
He might have done it twice, actually.
He might have.
Tavion Robinson is a once-in-a-generation talent. What do I think his favorite color is? His favorite color is black because that's the color of my heart now that he left. That's how sad I am. Their game for me to watch is Week 5 in Oxford against Ole Miss. It's right before they go on a really easy stretch. They could go on a big run until they face the number 3 Bulldogs in Week 11. From Week 5 to Week 11 is pretty simple for them. So hopefully they can get that going. And I'm so depressed after talking about Tavion Robinson, especially because we start tomorrow. But that's what I have for the Wildcats. My prediction for them actually is to go 9-4 this season to make a bowl game. Still on the up and up for Mark Stoops and this team. But, yeah, go Wildcats. Braden, you want to talk about your second Tiger of the day?
Yeah, got some more Tigers, the LSU Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Coach O is gone, unfortunately. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. They went 6-7 last season, 3-5 in the conference, and they lost against Kansas State in the Texas Bowl, 21-42. The last time they won the SEC was back in 2019. Joe Burrow, you know how that went, national championship. Anyway, Coach O is gone, but they're bringing in a guy, some no-name named Brian Kelly. It's his 32nd year overall as a head coach.
Can you stat check that? You said you didn't know who he was, and then you said 32 years.
He's gone 284 and 101. You may have recognized this guy. He spent the last 12 years as a head coach of Notre Dame, where he built a record of 92-39. So he's a decent coach. And he's starting off the season with some shenanigans, all right? Because the quarterback situation, he says he has made a decision for the quarterback the starting quarterback against Florida State, but he won't say who it is.
I saw that.
He's not going to tell us.
You'll find
there's
out.
two guys. There's
I
two
feel
guys that are battling. He's crazy. There's
I
two
feel
guys.
like there has to be like a reason. I mean, like not a reason, like a rule or restriction behind. Like, is there a specific time you have to announce your starting quarterback?
I mean, I'm assuming the day of, but there is a reason. There's a reason. These are two different quarterbacks, right? We got Jaden Daniels. He's a senior transfer from Arizona State. He threw for 2,300 yards and 10 touchdowns and 10 picks. So the turnover ratio is pretty high. He also ran for 710 more yards and 6 touchdowns. So he's a dual threat. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball all right. The turnover ratio is a bit questionable. The next guy is Garrett Nussmeier. He's a redshirt freshman. Last season, he completed 29 of 57 passes for 329 yards and 2 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. Him, on the other hand, he's not a dual threat. He ran the ball 5 times for negative 46 yards. So he's not running the ball. But yeah, Kelly doesn't want to announce the starter for the game against Florida State just yet. I got 2 more players to watch. We got Keyshawn Butte. He's a junior wide receiver. He led the team in receiving yards with 509, despite only playing in 6 games before sustaining an ankle injury. He tacked on 9 touchdowns as well in those games, and is currently a top 5 ranked wide receiver in the country. Then we have a senior defensive end, Ali Gay. He's also returning from an upper body injury that sidelined him after just 4 games last season. He averaged 5 tackles in those games he did play, and he put up 2.5 sacks. He could see a meteoric rise to power this season if all goes right for him, and if he returns from that injury healthily. My most important game for them is Week 8 versus number 21 Ole Miss. It's their 4th game in a 5-game stretch, including Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama. They got to have this one at home in the middle of their roughest part of the season. I have them going 8-4 despite that really, really tough stretch there.
That guy you mentioned, any relation to Matt Gay?
I don't know. I didn't check. But no, they're spelled differently. So Ali Gay is Gaye.
Oh, add an E on the end. Huh.
Yeah.
Distant relative.
Maybe.
I don't think so. That might be too far of a stretch. All right, thanks for talking about the Tigers. We have a little bit of a buffer in between the next Tigers. We have the Mississippi State Bulldogs, the best Bulldogs of the SEC. Last year went 7-6, 4-4 in conference play. They lost 7-34 to Texas Tech in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and they have not won the conference since 1941. So that's a big.
I saw that on the sheet earlier. That's long time.
81 years.
Hey, just wait, boys.
Oh no.
This is their season.
Mississippi State had 6 4-star recruits, but they had major highlight flashes last season. I have 4 of them. They beat number 20 NC State 24-10. They beat Texas A&M 26-22. They beat number 18 Kentucky 31-17, and they beat Auburn 43-34. Braden, your face is priceless on that.
That's impressive. Good for them.
Those are some big wins.
In college football, the new norm we've transitioned to is that quarterbacks need to be throwing for 400 passing yards a game. Like on average, they need to be doing that to successfully win games. The Bulldogs only reached 500 total yards once against Vanderbilt. Yes, we'll talk about that later. But this defense, absolutely loaded. Loaded after coming 30th in the nation last season. They're ready to pop and rock and roll. They led the SEC in time of possession with 33 minutes and 12 seconds. They were dead last in yards per completion and dead last in rushing. Dead last. Their offense did not show up like their defense did, nor did their special teams. On average, how many yards do you think they gave up per punt return when they caught the ball and actually returned it?
8.
I don't know.
The league average is 4 to 5, by the way. Punt return average for opponents, 18.1.
That's awful.
They were basically going 20 yards every time they punted the ball. So if they punted the ball 50 yards, they really just punted it 30 yards. That needs to be fixed. Here's how. Mike Leach is going into his third season at 11-13. They do have star quarterback Will Rogers. He's a junior. He threw 683 passes last season. 683.
That's a lot.
And completed 74% of them.
That's good.
That's impressive.
That's great.
What's the rest of his stats?
4,739 yards on 500 completions.
Damn.
36 TDs to 9 picks. Kid's great.
Where does this guy rank in the prospects here?
He doesn't.
What?
He's so under the rug, it's not even funny.
What's his name again?
His name is Will Rogers. At wide receiver.
Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, he is related to Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, is he actually?
No. His last name is spelled Rogers.
Oh, okay.
There's no D.
We got some homophones going on today. I like it.
Jaden Wally is a junior wide receiver returning. He had 55 catches, 628 yards, and 6 touchdowns from a very good team that lost a lot of receiving. Jet Johnson, he's playing the will linebacker. He's a senior. He had 86 tackles with 37 solos, a forced fumble, a pick, and 3 pass deflections. Now, for the Bulldogs, their game to watch, it's really difficult to pick a game to watch in the SEC because there's so many dang ranked opponents and you don't want to pick the same ones. I came up with week 6 at home against number 19 Arkansas. This is a big game for the Bulldogs. It's a chance to see if the Razorbacks actually sharpen their teeth this offseason and to see what happens. Yeah. I see no improvement for the Mississippi State Bulldogs this season, but there's a huge but. I don't see disimprovement. This team's going 7-6 again.
Nice.
One of those losses will be to Arkansas because they're dogs.
Do dogs lose to Razorbacks?
Yeah.
I would say so. Braden, I'm sorry I didn't give you this one.
Mizzou, baby. Mizzou.
Got to share the Tiger love.
This is all me. The third Tiger team in the SEC. I think we're running out of Tigers. And I think there's a little bit too many in the SEC. We might need to spread it out here. I know Mizzou produced the best football player ever, Drew Lock. And sure do they need him back. I'll tell you that right now. They went 6-7 last year, somehow being able to pick up 3 of those wins within the SEC. But let's see how they stack up this year. They're bringing back Elijah Drinkwitz for a 3rd season after going 11-12 in his first 2 seasons as head coach. At quarterback, they have unproven redshirt sophomore Brady Cook, who went for 345 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 games last season. Their best players are a wide receiver turned cornerback, Chris Abrams-Drain. He has 37 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 7 broken up passes last year. He's projected to be a 6th-round draft pick in the NFL draft. And Trajan Jeffcoat, a senior defensive end. He's had 64 tackles, 10.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, and 1 touchdown in 3 seasons. This Mizzou team, it's not looking too hot, boys. I have them getting 2 less wins than last year and missing a bowl game. 4-8. 4-8.
I hear he's not starting. Maybe he can come back.
I know. They should bring him back. Super senior, baby.
Exactly. Senior. I think he'd much rather be playing than on the bench.
I think he would, if he had to do it over again, I think he'd be back. He'd be back at Mizzou.
Now I understand that Drew Lock is no longer with the Missouri Tigers. But Brent, would you like to tell me about your 2 best bet picks that are certainly locks?
These 2 are locks, especially the first one. especially the first one. So, without further ado, my first pick of the day is Daniel Jones, over 11.5 interceptions for the season. This is a future. You can find it on Prize Picks. You can pair it with whatever you want. But this leg right here, a lot. Danny Dimes has only reached this mark once in his career. So why am I telling you to bet the over on this? Why am I telling you this? Because Daniel Jones has never played a full season in his 3-year career. Yes, I know that you're thinking, oh, because he's injury prone, but none of his injuries were related to each other, even when he missed 6 games last season. None of the injuries were related at all. This coaching staff wants to see what they have in Daniel Jones because this is do or die. And I've been saying this for the past 3 years, but this is actually it because he's out of years on his contract. It's physically the last season. It's either they re-sign him or they don't. He was still only 4 off from that number last year, and he only played 7 games. Not 7. He missed 6 games. He easily would have hit it if he had played 2 or 3 more games. So yeah, this is a lock. The second one I had was Bills -2 away against the Rams. At first look, you might think the Rams have this. They have this in the bag. But think about the way Josh Allen went out last season. He had one of the best games we have ever physically seen, and he lost. You don't think that puts a bad taste in his mouth going into the year? He is going for blood week 1 and will do anything it takes to get a victory. The Rams, on the other hand, they'll be riding high after their Super Bowl win. Matthew Stafford has a problem with his elbow. I don't know what it is, but it's plagued him all camp. And both Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson are not fully healthy. This Bills team will eat week 1. I think they could put up monster numbers on this team.
We predicted another 4 TD Gabriel Davis day.
Maybe a 3 TD Stephon Diggs against Jalen Ramsey.
That'd be crazy.
No, I'm just kidding. But I think the Bills have this game, and they're my Super Bowl pick for this year. So
it's kind of crazy considering that pick will be relevant in 1 week.
I know. That's why I'm bringing it up now. We might not have another podcast between now and then.
We probably won't. But
I'm excited for the NFL. It's coming soon.
Dude, way beyond pumped. Back to the SEC, baby. Great picks, Brent. Make sure you lock those in. And Brent charges a 75% cover fee.
Yeah.
Starting with number 21, Ole Miss Hottie Toddy. Braden, you want to say it?
Hottie Toddy.
Brent, you want to say it?
No.
Jen is disappointed in you now. The Ole Miss Rebels, 10-3, 6-2 in the SEC last season, held their own like no other. They lost 7-21 to Baylor in the All-State Sugar Bowl, but don't let that score do anything to you. Don't let it happen. Matt Corral didn't play past the first quarter, so don't let that score shock you as an Ole Miss fan. Last time they won this conference, one of my parents was born. 1963 is when Ole Miss last won this conference. So we're going back still. But if there's anybody you want coaching this team, it is Lane Kiffin. 15-8, third season. This man is equivalent to the Dan Campbell of energy in the NFL. This guy has so much potential. So yes, Brent.
Grit.
Yes, like legitimately. So they had a 10-win season. They made the Sugar Bowl. 10 wins is actually tied for most in Ole Miss history for wins in a singular season. So they were that close to the record. This is also their first winning season since 2015. And they just said, yeah, we'll put up 10. We'll put up 10 wins. Ole Miss I want all of you to open your ears right now. Listen to what I'm about to say. In a conference with Alabama, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, Florida, the SEC freaking C, Ole Miss led the SEC in total offense. You got to be kidding me.
Matt Corral.
They averaged 34 points a game, and their defense was a program best. Listen to this statement. Their defense was a program best since 2014, and they were 97th in the nation.
Wow.
So this defense has been holding up this team for a long time. Elephant in the room, Matt Corral's gone for both the Panthers and the Rebels. We're both hurting. Gone for the season. That brings in sophomore quarterback Luke Altmaier. And if you've heard that name before, it's because he's the man that took over the reins in the Sugar Bowl when Matt Corral went down. He went 15 for 28, 174 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks against number 7 Baylor. Obviously, not great. But again, a backup playing against the number 7 team in the world, I'll take that. You only lost by 14. I'll take that every time. We have 2 transfers. I put them into one column here. Zach Evans, he's a junior from TCU, and Ulysses Bentley IV. He's also a junior from SMU. The TCU and SMU juniors combined for 3,000 rushing yards and 27 combined touchdowns last season. You can say, damn. Yeah. Yes. On the opposite end of the ball at defensive end, Cedric Johnson, the junior, is the guy to watch. He had 32 tackles, 18 of them were solos, with 6.5 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a pass deflection. Pass deflection from a defensive end is what you love to see. Ole Miss is coming off one of their hottest seasons ever in a very long time. They want the conference. But you're in the same division. And yes, I say this word correctly, in division. The same division as Alabama. No, it's not happening. Their biggest game to watch is Week 9 against number 6 Texas A&M. We're going to see where Texas A&M is actually at that point, see how they're actually playing football and if they deserve that number 6 ranking. It's a chance to see number 6 before they host Alabama the prior week. So that is 2 very, very, very hard back-to-back games for the Rebels. I believe they take a step down this season with no Matt Corral. They go 8-5, still have a successful season, make a bowl game. Nobody seems to disagree. That's good.
Sorry, I'm just looking at some updates from the Pitt, West Virginia game.
I've been watching the game literally on my screen at the same point. If anybody's wondering what in the world is happening right now, Pitt scored 2 TDs in a minute. They were down 31-24. They scored off a pass to their a 24-yard pass to their running back. And then JT Daniels threw his first pick of the season, and it was 6th. So they're up 38-31 with $1:30 remaining, and WVU is driving right now. They're on their own 46. We will keep you updated here. They're now on Pitt 22. JT Daniels just threw a 32-yard bomb. Oh, geez, that's a game we're missing. All right, Braden, tell me about the South Carolina Gamecocks while I pretend to listen and watch.
Heard. Okay. The Gamecocks. Yeah, they had a really good season last season for Gamecock standards. They're getting a little bit overhyped, though. They're a good team, but they play in the SEC, and they got a tough schedule. Last season, they went 7-6, 3-5 in the conference, and they beat UNC in the Duke's Mayo Bowl 38-21. The last time they won the SEC East was back in 2010, and they lost the conference championship game versus Auburn 17-56. Their head coach is Shane Beamer, the son of legendary Frank Beamer of the Virginia Tech Hokies. It's his second year as a head coach at South Carolina. Yeah.
Bring him home.
Yeah. He did have a stint at VT as a running back coach back in 2012, I believe.
Nice.
2011 to 2015. Their quarterback, He's a transfer. Another nobody that's switching teams like Brian Kelly last time. It's Spencer Rattler. He's a junior transfer from Oklahoma. Last season, he threw for 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 picks before being benched against Texas for Caleb Williams. He transfers to South Carolina out for blood, and the Gamecocks got one hell of an upgrade at quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he does. I got 2 players to watch. We got Cam Smith. He's a junior quarterback. Some say he's top 5 to top 3 in the nation at cornerback. Last season, he had 41 tackles, 3 picks, 11 passes broken up, and a forced fumble. And then I have Antoine Wells Jr. He is also a junior, and he's a wide receiver transfer from James Madison. Last season, he had 83 catches for 1,250 yards and 15 touchdowns for the JMU Dukes. I got my most important game for them is Week 13 at number 4 Clemson. This team has a really tough schedule. While there are potential cakewalks such as Charlotte, there are many more games that are rough on the schedule, including games against 5 ranked opponents: Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and number 4 Clemson. An upset win against Clemson in Clemson's Death Valley to end the season would be amazing for the Gamecocks, and they would consider it a successful season. I'm going 6-6 this season. Schedule's just too tough. It's too tough for them.
They've had a lot of issues at the school as well, so football might be a little underwhelming this season, being brushed under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, talking about the Gamecocks and the mascot and all that. So
yeah.
Another changed name in football coming, guys, and another one.
Wait, I haven't heard about this.
It's not the Gamecocks themselves; it's their mascot. They don't, or the new owners or something don't like the name of the mascot itself, like the chicken itself. And they did like a fan poll, and the leading name for the mascot isn't something they would like even less. So move on.
Yeah, they don't like Sir Big Spur.
Mm-hmm.
There was talks about making it the General, but I think they're sticking with the current mascot name for this season.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. Braden, tell me how you say this team's second part. How do you say it?
The second part? Oh,
How,
okay. That is the Volunteers.
Like a volunteer or a volunteer?
It's the Volunteers.
So like a helper, like a volunteer.
Yeah.
But do you say go Vols or go Vols?
You know, I've been converted. I'm after the talks about the pronunciation of the Volunteers, you got to go with Vols now. But I don't blame you if you say Vols. I respect it.
I feel like everyone says Vols.
Balls.
For the sake of this podcast, I'm just going to call them Tennessee because I don't feel like sparking any issues. Tennessee went 7-6, 4-4 last season. They lost 45-48 to Purdue in overtime of the trans-perfect Music City Bowl. So, Music City Bowl, kind of cool. Last time they won the conference was 1998. Oh, I just realized what team you're talking about for the conference.
We'll talk about it.
We'll get there. Josh Heupel is going into his second season. He went 7-6 last season, obviously, so that's his career record. I hate the SEC. At quarterback, former Virginia Tech Hokie as well, Hendon Hooker, who went 206 for 302, 2,900 yards, 31 touchdowns to 3 picks last season.
Yeah,
including 5 touchdowns on the ground in addition to those 31 touchdowns. So 36 total touchdowns to 3 picks and an all-purpose of 3,500 yards. Hendon Hooker's a graduate student. This is the last time he'll be playing in college football until he takes his talents to the NFL. Hendon Hooker, ladies and gentlemen, is my dark horse Heisman watch of this season. If Hendon Hooker puts it together, and if Tennessee can somehow find a way to put games together, Tennessee is a dark horse college football playoff team, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Where was this at Tech?
It's called Fuente didn't know how to use a damn quarterback. Couldn't use him. Couldn't use Quincy Patterson. Couldn't use Braxton Burmeister.
Well, we saw all three of them against that first game
in one season.
Against NC State. Yeah, well, in one game against NC State.
Yeah, we saw all three of them. At wide receiver, they do return senior Cedric Tillman, who's the big guy for Tennessee. 64 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 12 TDs. That's 17 yards per catch for Cedric Tillman. He's expected to have another explosive season as well. And then on the defensive side, I do have Byron Young, defensive end senior, 40 tackles, 19 of them were solo, and 2 sacks. For Tennessee, they have 7 4-star commits, 15 3-stars. They were 9th in the nation in offense with 475 yards per game. Their offense failed to get 30 points 4 times. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Florida. They were 7-1 when they scored 35 or more points. That one loss coming to Purdue in the bowl game. So when they put up points, they win big. Their O-line allowed the most sacks in the SEC with 44. That's averaging 3.4 sacks per game. Just no. Hendon Hooker was getting drilled and still played the entire season. They allowed 500-plus yards on defense 5 of their last 10 games, and they were 7th in the nation. I don't even know what this says. I don't even know what that says. It's like it says 7th in the nation in tables for loss per game.
Tackles.
Thank you. I don't know why it says tables. I guess I rushed to class as soon as I did this morning.
It's okay.
Their game to watch is a game that's about to be a team that's about to be 1-0. Week 2 at Pitt. A chance to take down a major-ranked non-SEC opponent in Pittsburgh at not Heinz Field. I believe nope, I'm not saying it. I believe Tennessee goes 9-4 this season, has a great season on the uptick, but seriously watch out for Hendon Hooker. That guy gives me flashes of Michael Vick. So
crazy.
I'm not, dude, he's so talented.
Yeah.
So talented.
It's sad.
It is amazing, and I'm willing to compare. I'll put my butt on the line for that one. I put my butt on the line for Baker last year. It didn't pay off, but now he's with us, so. Jeez, Brent, I just gave you everybody good.
Got the Texas A&M Aggies. Let's go, baby. The Aggies, they had somewhat of a disappointing season last year. They went 8-4 after making the Orange Bowl the year before. They're coached by one of my favorite college head coaches in Jimbo Fisher, who has had a 34-14 record and is going into his 5th season with the team. They unfortunately did not get to play in the Gator Bowl against number 17 Wake Forest due to COVID and injury concerns last year. At quarterback, they're led by redshirt sophomore Haynes King. In one game last season, he had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 picks. The Aggies like this guy, but it's obvious he needs to be more careful with the ball this season. Their other 2 players to watch are Anais Smith, a senior wide receiver who has had 112 catches, 1,321 yards, and 15 touchdowns in 3 years. This guy is one of the best weapons in the SEC as he can catch the ball, run the ball, and return the ball. Unfortunately, he did get arrested for unlawful carrying of a weapon and a DWI, but it doesn't look like it's going to affect his availability going into the season. He is the 12th ranked wide receiver in all of college football. The other guy is Antonio Johnson, a junior safety. He has had 93 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 1 interception, and 7 broken up passes in 2 seasons. This guy is exceptionally quick in coverage, and his height allows him to high point interceptions with ease. He is the 7th ranked defensive back prospect in the nation. And I just realized that I've covered the 7th, 8th, and 9th defensive back prospects all in this podcast. So, crazy.
Solid.
Anyways, y'all know what they say. Everything is bigger in Texas. I have the Aggies going 11-1 this year, with their only loss coming from Alabama.
And that game's got some extra heat coming.
Yep, it's gonna be a barn burner.
I don't know if I'd use those words, but yes, I understand what you're saying. It's gonna be crazy. So we talked about Alabama.
This is supersonic Wi-Fi from Xfinity. It's fast. So gaming with your niece has never felt
What
more
is
intense.
We don't get paid for ads.
Braden, is that you, bud?
Unbeatable
It's not.
from Xfinity.
It is not me.
Interesting.
I have no clue what just happened, but interruption was perfect timing there because I don't want Braden to talk about this team. Can someone explain to me how we just talked about Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia Bulldogs, Florida Gators, Tennessee, so many respected teams in the SEC. Can I log off?
I'm excited. The 1-0 Vanderbilt Commodores
True.
coming off a 53-point victory against Hawaii. This team's winning the SEC.
Currently.
Exactly. Never again. They went 2-10 last season, did not win a game in the conference, and that's going to continue into this season, by the way, but we'll talk about that later. For some reason, they didn't get selected for a bowl. Don't understand why. This team joined the SEC in 1933 and has never won it. They haven't even won the SEC East since they joined in 1933. The last time they won a conference championship was back in 1923, and it was the SoCon, the Southern Conference.
Nice.
This team sucks.
That's it.
They're led by Clark Leah. It's his second year of Vandy. Didn't solve the problem in his first year. Can't blame him. Their quarterback is Mike Wright. He's a junior. Last season, he threw for 1,043 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 6 picks. He ran for 376 and a touchdown. In the game versus Hawaii, he threw for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he ran it for another 163 and 2 touchdowns. I got junior wide receiver Will Shepard. Last season, he had 577 yards and 4 touchdowns. In the game versus Hawaii, he caught 3 passes for 39 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Next player to watch is Anferni Orji. He's a senior linebacker with 92 tackles last season, 13 of those for loss and 1 sack. He had 3 tackles in the game versus Hawaii, and he had 2 fumble recoveries. So getting on the ball. My most important game for this Vandy team is a game I think they upset week 4 at Alabama. It's an easy win here. Vanderbilt's winning. They're beating Alabama. For real, though, their actual game to watch is a week before, week 3 at Northern Illinois. It's their last winnable game on the schedule, and it's against the MAC champions. If they win this game, congratulations, Vandy. You win 3 games this season. They're going 3-9. Step up.
After the teams we just talked about, how is this team in the SEC?
Who knows? They've been there since 1933.
I guess
they've never been good.
I guess they've just been in it long enough. They can't kick them out, but
I don't want to talk about them anymore.
We're done. That's it. They win 3 games, maybe.
That's it. We're done. Let's go. Guys, Conference 11 has been completed. The College Summer Super Series has been completed. 6 weeks down, but don't worry. Oh, wait, there's more. We promised it. We're going to give it to you. We have some week 1 action to talk about very quickly. We'll let you guys go here soon, like I'm running up on the time for my Friday night class. But I don't have class on Friday night, Thursday night. But Let's talk a little bit of logistics about week 0 really fast. Nebraska and Northwestern put on an absolute show for all college football fans, and everyone that was sitting in Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland loved it. Between the free beer because the Wi-Fi went out, to the beer snake to the top, to watching the Wildcats get a dub over the Cornhuskers. Everybody absolutely loved what they saw, unless you're a Cornhusker fan. Had to put that little thing in there. This team, Northwestern, was led by junior quarterback Ryan Helinski. And if you remember, we talked about Ryan Helinski for quite a bit. Was it Brent or Braden? Brent, I think you did Northwestern.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I know I did Nebraska, I'm pretty sure. Junior quarterback Ryan Helinski went 27 for 38, 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. Junior running back Evan Hall also put in 22 carries, 5 receptions for 174 all-purpose and a TD. Northwestern was lights out. Nebraska, on the other hand, junior's transfer quarterback that Braden's been raving about from Texas, Casey Thompson, went 25 and 42, 355 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks, including a pick that lost and sealed the game that was not his fault. Had to put that tidbit in there as well. Another star for the Cornhuskers was junior running back Anthony Grant, 19 carries, 101 yards, 2 TDs. So both offenses were electric. It really came down to that final interception. Up next, Northwestern has a great chance to start 2-0. They're at home against Duke. They can win that game. Cedric Highsmith, Duke University.
Duke.
I remember I said Duke had a chance to go 4-0 to start the season after seeing Northwestern play last week. Ain't going to happen. Sorry, Duke.
Nebraska is up next. Nebraska is up next at home versus North Dakota. So hopefully they can get a dub there. They're 21.5-point favorites.
Well,
but you never know, because this team apparently is just dropping games. They're dropping more games than Laviska Shenault dropping balls.
Hey, he's on the Panthers now.
That was out of left field.
What?
That was out of left field. Where did that come from?
Jaguars fans hate him.
Okay.
Backyard Brawl just finished about 5 minutes ago. West Virginia, number 17 Pitt, and boy, did they put on an absolute show for Backyard Brawl. West Virginia, 31, Pittsburgh, 38. They couldn't take it home. They couldn't take home the dub.
Mm-mm.
JT Daniels was an absolute star in this game. 23 for 39, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he threw a pick 6, and that was the ball game. Score was 31-31 tied when Daniels threw the pick. Kadon Slovis, who has had this on his calendar for weeks, if you saw on TikTok, he made a pretty funny speech about the Mountaineers. He went 16 for 24 with 308 passing yards and a touchdown, so he held his own. But it was C.J. Donaldson, the running back for the Mountaineers, who only got the ball 7 times and ran for 125 yards.
JT Daniels shines so bright.
Does he?
Up until the last second.
Oh, geez. Up until the last second. Right now, Penn State is playing the Boilermakers. Keep on tap. We'll see if that game's over. Probably not before we're off. Brent, you've been talking. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's 31-28 right now. Purdue's leading. 8 minutes left.
31-28?
Mm-hmm.
They scored quick then. Brent, you've been talking about this game a lot that we're about to go over. You've been talking a ton about number 11 Oregon going to number 3 Georgia, who is the Ducks are 17-point dogs to the Dogs.
17-point favorites. That is a lot. I mean, you could easily take Oregon plus 17 easily, and I think you'd win that bet all day. So if you want a safe, comfortable bet that. If you're more of a risk taker, Oregon money line, smash it. I like Oregon in this game. I covered Georgia a lot earlier. I think this is going to be their only loss of the season. Joe, I think, Joe, you talked about Oregon, right?
I did.
That was the last episode.
I did.
Yeah. So Joe mentioned a lot of Oregon on the last episode. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. He had a lot of good things to say about them. Me, on the other hand, I didn't have a ton of good things to say about Georgia. Yes, they still have a lot of good players. I get it. But what we saw last season was historic. Their defense was absurd, and it's not going to be anything similar to what it was last year. I just think people have way too high hopes for Georgia after coming off that national championship, and I think they're severely overrated going into this season. I would take Oregon money line.
If you remember from the episode where we talked about the Pac-12, when I talked about Oregon, I did say that Oregon was going to win this football game, and that was before the spread came out, and I still personally believe they will. Bo Nix is an absolute star-studded QB. Brent, there's just to back you up, there's so many question marks with this Georgia defense, and is Stetson Bennett really all that?
No, he sucks. He doesn't suck. He's average. He's an average college quarterback.
We're talking about a number 11 seed coming in an 8 seed difference, coming in 17-point dogs. I don't care.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't care where they're playing. I don't care that it's in Athens. Dude, smoke this puppy, because Oregon is plus 570 on their money line. So if you have $100 to smack and want to make a profit,
plus 17, take it. Put $100. If you want to bet more money on it, I'd say take the plus 17 just to minimize your risk. But man, I don't see where Georgia covers this spread. I don't see it at all.
It's too much.
I'd be shocked.
Way too much. Going up next, we have number 23 Cincinnati at number 19 Arkansas. Arkansas 6.5-point favorites. Brent talked a lot about Arkansas in this podcast. I talked about Cincinnati and the Desmond Ridderless Bearcats. This was my game to watch for them. Was number 19 Arkansas, and Cincinnati being number 23 is a joke. Exactly. Desmond Ridder was the star of this team. Cincinnati, the AAC, yeah, they'll win it. They got to compete with Houston, but they'll win it. Arkansas minus 6.5. SEC-led Arkansas, dude, give me that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd take that as well. Take the points with Arkansas for sure.
Absolutely.
Take the points.
We saw Cincinnati making the college football playoff last season. That doesn't happen. The only other team that's not in Power 5 has been Notre Dame. It's not happening again. They're not going to get close. They're going to get exposed by this Arkansas team. They're going to get exposed.
They had Desmond Ridder. They had Sauce Gardner. Yeah. They had Darian Beavers, who was a great linebacker for them. They lost a lot of key pieces. I don't see where they rank 23 either. I very much agree with Joe.
Yeah, and their starting quarterback, I'm re-looking it up, is Evan Prater, 38 passing yards last season. You're going to into Fayetteville. You're not playing in Cincy. So good luck.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say. Next one, number 24, Houston, another AAC team at UTSA. We need to stop calling them UTSA. We're going to get shot. UTSA. First of all, -4. We're talking about a CUSA team, first of all, against an AAC top AP 25. Is there a chance for an upset? Absolutely. But we're talking about the Houston Cougars. Braden, you talked about Houston, I believe.
I believe so.
Do you see an upset happening here?
I don't think I do. I think this Houston team is pretty solid. I think this UTSA team is not as solid. They're a good team in the CUSA. But I predicted Houston going 10-2, and UTSA was not one of the teams I had them losing to. So give me Houston with the points here.
I agree.
No input from me. I just don't know enough about either of these teams.
Maybe you'll know a little more about this one. If not, I'll teach you on it. Number 7 Utah going to Gainesville, playing Florida. 3 points. 3 points.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
Utah's good.
It's because this Florida team's also pretty loaded. I obviously just finished talking about the Gators. This is one of the 2 matches to watch. Billy Napier has a chance to come out week 1, throw up an absolute bomb. Dude, you look at this game, you see a 7 seed against an unranked opponent. It doesn't matter who the unranked opponent is. 3 points? Like, every part of you wants to take Utah -3, but also every part of me wants to take the Florida money line at the same point. I'm torn.
I think Utah's got it. I think they got it.
Show.
It's the Pac-12 champs versus one of the bottom of the barrel SEC teams last year. Okay, last year, they are much improved, but still, Utah's going to win this game by more than 3 points. It might not be a blowout. It might not be a blowout, but Utah's going to win the game.
Okay. I'm very excited to watch it.
Me too.
Very excited. Currently, no input from me. So we talked about number 11 at number 3, Georgia, being 17-point dogs, and it didn't make sense. This one does make sense. Number 5, Notre Dame at number 2, Ohio State. Why Notre Dame is number 5, I do not know. Why is Ohio State number 2? I don't know, because they should be number 1. But no, I'm just kidding. This has to be the absolute highest spread for a 3-rank difference besides like Alabama and Cincy.
And it's justified. Notre Dame's going to get exposed. It's that simple.
That's what I believe too. I said they were going to win by 30.
Ohio State?
Yeah.
Shoot. Maybe not that much, but
Joe Shane's going to be at this game watching CJ Stroud for the Giants. I saw that today on Twitter. He's already looking ahead for next season.
Love to see it. If you're Daniel Jones, you don't love to see it. You got a scout going out watching, and then you have your biggest fan and
GM. It's not just the scout; it's our GM.
Oh, it's your GM?
Yes.
Oh my god.
He's going to be at the game.
not a good look, bud. Not a good look.
And you have your biggest fan, Brent, picking the over on INTs. Not a good look.
I've looked. I used to be earlier in this offseason. I was a little bit higher on the Giants. I'm at a big low right now. I could see us getting like 2 wins. I'm not even kidding at this point. I just don't. There's no way this team's going to be any good at all.
Dang.
But we're not talking about the NFL. We're talking about college. So
we got one more game to talk about, and I don't know why this game keeps coming up on my screen. I still want to know why. Monday night, ESPN, Chick-fil-A kickoff, number 4 Clemson at Georgia Tech and Mercedes-Benz. Clemson's opening as 21.5 point favorites. Somebody explain to me why we're talking about this game.
We're going to see if Clemson is really number 4 against not a good opponent. But
it keeps coming up everywhere like this is a 1 versus 2 seed. I don't get it. And maybe that's going to smack me in the face later. But again, rule still applies. If Clemson loses this game, I will order a Georgia Tech polo and wear it on the next podcast. Talk about a nice one, not like a $20 one, like a $50 one.
Big money.
Clemson will win this game by 50. That's all I have to say. Take the spread, please.
Yeah. Not much left to say there.
There's not. Guys, that's all I have.
Wraps up college, baby.
We made it.
Wraps up college right before sort of official week one. Week one, in my opinion, doesn't start until Saturday usually, but week one in my book definitely starts tomorrow.
In my opinion, we missed one important game.
Yeah,
That's true.
Pitt, West Virginia. That's the only game.
How's Tony feeling about tomorrow, baby?
I think he's a little nervous.
I'm hoping we come out and play ball.
Tech's gonna play with some heart. They were embarrassed last time, so
yeah, we got smacked.
Y'all got this.
It's time to set the tone for the Brent Pry era.
We'll see.
Good name.
It's a great name.
Well, guys, I'm gonna take a quick 30 seconds to obviously we thank the viewers, we thank the platform, but can we get a round of applause for my two boys here that have stuck it out through 6 weeks? So many different teams. I've learned so much from both my research, your all's research. I find myself late at night listening to our podcasts when games are coming on. Like I was listening last night to our Big 12 and ACC one because I was very interested in about West Virginia and Pitt and what was coming. But y'all have been awesome. Thank you for showing up to each and every one. Chris, thank you for helping out with the first two. And excited to get you back on the pod here. But JMU kicks off this weekend too, so it's time to get to business, baby.
Yeah, hopefully Chris can join us once again for the next one. It's been a while. His suspension's coming up soon.
To be fair, we usually do a podcast every month, and he's only been gone a month, so he technically hasn't missed any time.
That's true.
He's just been suspended for like the past 4 podcasts. But his suspension's coming to an end here.
Yeah, that was the underline we didn't tell you guys about. But seriously, thanks to my two co-hosts here and the one that's prepping for a big JMU Sunbelt game. It's been awesome. It's been an honor to run the first ever Sports Outlet Show Super Summer Series, and very exciting. Now I see on your screen S.O.S. number 3.11. This is the first time we've gone past 10 episodes because this was a bonus sneak peek exclusive preview because next time we come back, it's season 4.
Season 4, baby.
Season 4 is up and coming. We're talking maybe a new logo, maybe a new platform. No, we're not changing platforms again. I can't do that again.
NFL will be starting. We'll be in the depths of college football. It's an exciting time.
We will have a lot to talk about. We just got to figure out when and where. So thanks, everybody, for hopping on with us here today. Again, thanks, boys. It's been fun. It's been great. We got the spreadsheet to look back on for everything that happens to college football, and I'm going to go watch Penn State and Purdue right now because that game's coming to a close. So peace out.
Good night.